May 2020, a day that should have been filled with excitement and celebration. Maurice Kelso-Smith threw a joyful gender reveal party for his girlfriend, Darionne Burley, who was 6 months pregnant with their twin boys. The future seemed bright, but less than 30 days later, that future was ripped away in a single moment of shocking violence. On June 29th, Darionne's life came to a brutal end, not in the comfort of her home, but in the back seat of a car, driven by the very man who had once promised to protect her. Maurice, the father of her children, shot her in cold blood and then drove away like nothing had happened. Within hours, the police would uncover a trail of blood, lies, and desperation, leading them straight to Maurice Smith, whose twisted actions would leave an entire family shattered. How could a celebration of life turn into a deadly crime scene? Stick with us as we unravel the chilling story of betrayal, violence, and the aftermath that still haunts those who love Darionne. Before we dive into the shocking details, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. You won't want to miss what comes next in this heartbreaking true crime story. Subscribe now. Darionne Burley was a 26-year-old woman who should have had a bright future ahead of her. A mother-to-be, carrying twin boys, her world was full of hope. Her family described her as someone who lit up any room she walked into, always with a warm smile and a kind word. In a world that was too often harsh, Darionne was a beacon of light. She was a daughter, a friend, a soon-to-be mother, full of dreams and plans. She couldn't wait to meet her boys, and every day she spent waiting was filled with love for the life growing inside of her. Her heart was full, and her future, once so promising, was waiting to unfold. Darionne's relationship with Maurice Smith, the father of her children, appeared to be one built on love. Maurice, the man she trusted most, had just celebrated this milestone with her, hosting a joyful gender reveal party just weeks before everything fell apart. But what her family and friends didn't know was that in the shadows of this seemingly happy relationship, things were beginning to shift. The woman who was full of hope was about to face a tragic end. A tragic end that would shock those who knew her best. At first glance, Maurice Kelso-Smith appeared to be a man who had it all. He was a proud father-to-be, sharing moments of joy with his girlfriend, Darionne, and planning for their future. In the eyes of others, Maurice seemed like the loving partner anyone would want by their side. But behind closed doors, the man he showed the world was nothing more than a mask. Just a month before Darionne's tragic death, Maurice threw what was supposed to be a joyful gender reveal party. The excitement was palpable, and for a moment, everything seemed perfect. But there were cracks beneath the surface, cracks that no one could have seen coming. Smith's life was spiraling. His behavior became more erratic. Friends and family would later reveal that Maurice had begun using drugs heavily, and his once charming persona started to unravel. What once appeared to be a loving, happy couple was slowly being consumed by darkness. By early June, things took a violent turn. Maurice, who had been under the influence of synthetic marijuana, assaulted Darionne in a moment of uncontrolled rage. The man who had promised to protect her was now threatening the life she had dreamed of. And yet, no one could have predicted what would happen next. A man who should have been her partner, her support, would become the one who would end her life, taking not only Darionne's future, but the future of their unborn children. The air was thick with excitement that day. Family and friends gathered to celebrate the upcoming birth of Darionne and Maurice's twin boys. The sun was shining, the smiles were wide, and for a brief moment, everything felt perfect. The couple had just learned the gender of their babies, 2 boys, and the joy of that moment was shared with everyone around them. It should have been a moment of pure happiness, marking the start of a new chapter in their lives. But beneath the surface, cracks were already beginning to form in the relationship. To an outsider, Maurice appeared proud, a loving father-to-be, but something about his demeanor was off. The tension between them had been building. The cracks weren't just in their relationship, they were in his very being. That celebration, full of joy and excitement, was now just a haunting prelude to a tragedy no one could have anticipated. For Darionne, this day should have been a memory she cherished forever. Instead, it would become a painful reminder of the happiness she once had and the darkness that would soon consume her. That joyous celebration, the one that filled the air with hope for the future, would soon be overshadowed by a brutal reality. A reality that no one, not even Darionne, could have seen coming. It started like any other day. Darionne and Maurice left their apartment for breakfast at a Waffle House in Fort Worth, Texas. The air was thick with an unsettling tension, but nothing out of the ordinary. The day ahead should have been filled with routine, yet it would quickly spiral into something far more chilling. The couple ate in silence, the conversation soon turning into an argument over something trivial, an issue with the tire on their car. But it wasn't just the tire that was deflating that morning. The cracks in their relationship were widening, and what started as a petty disagreement would soon take a deadly turn. After breakfast, Darionne and Maurice left the restaurant. But as they drove away, something inside Maurice snapped. He had already been spiraling into destructive behavior for weeks, and now, with his anger boiling over, he made a decision that would cost Darionne her life. Within moments, Maurice illegally pulled out a .40 caliber gun and shot Darionne in the back of the head. She died instantly, her future and that of their unborn twin boys torn away in an instant. Instead of fleeing or turning himself in, Maurice did the unthinkable. He drove her lifeless body to a different town, as if it were just another errand, not a brutal act of murder. What he did next would only deepen the horror. Smith didn't stop. In Mansfield, Texas, he carjacked a woman at gunpoint, leaving yet another victim in his wake. But this wasn't the end of the story. It was only the beginning of a twisted trail of lies and deceit. The aftermath of Darionne's murder was like a nightmare that wouldn't end. Maurice, believing he could erase the crime, drove back home, his hands stained with blood and his mind focused on one thing: covering his tracks. But the law was already closing in, and the evidence would soon reveal the horrifying truth. When officers arrived on the scene, they found Darionne's lifeless body, her wallet wedged between her and the console. A sonogram picture of her twin boys, still unborn, was the painful reminder of what had been taken from her. Her future, her family, all gone in an instant. As investigators sifted through the car, they found a ticket to a gun show, a ticket purchased just days before the shooting. They soon discovered Smith had illegally bought a gun. But the pieces of the puzzle didn't stop there. At Maurice's apartment, the truth started to unravel. Blood-stained clothes and a .40 caliber pistol, matching the bullets used in the murder, were found in his possession. Smith had left behind more than just his victims. He left an undeniable trail of evidence that would seal his fate. Believing he could erase the traces of his crime, Maurice tried to clean the stolen car. But what he didn't realize was that the evidence was already scattered across his path, and with each attempt to destroy it, he only solidified his guilt. When questioned by police, Maurice tried to deflect suspicion by spinning a web of lies. He claimed that Darionne had belittled him during an argument, but his story didn't hold. And when the truth came to light, it painted a far darker picture. Police recovered Smith's bloody clothes, the same clothes he had worn during the murder. With every clue, every piece of evidence, his lies were exposed. Maurice's desperate attempts to cover up his crime only made his guilt more apparent. As the walls closed in, Maurice Smith's desperation took a bizarre and dark turn. His world was crumbling around him, and his final act to escape justice was as twisted as the crime he had committed. After his arrest, Maurice tried to feign a memory lapse, claiming that he couldn't recall the events of that tragic day. But it didn't end there. He insisted that he had overdosed, a story that would buy him time and a way out. He was transported to the hospital, But even then, he was playing a dangerous game. Chained to his hospital bed, Maurice wasn't out of tricks yet. Desperate to break free, he attempted to pick the lock on his handcuffs. He thought that if he could escape, maybe he could slip away from the long arm of the law. But his plan was doomed from the start. While Maurice fumbled with the handcuffs, the police were already one step ahead, watching his every move. The hospital staff, fully aware of his games, quickly informed the authorities, and any hope of escape vanished. Maurice's charade wasn't going to save him this time. His attempt to escape justice was a final act of desperation. With each failed plan, his situation grew direr. Maurice was no longer a free man, but a man fighting an inevitable verdict. One that would come for him, no matter how hard he tried to run. In the end, Maurice's efforts to evade the truth only ensured that it would catch up to him faster. There would be no more lies, no more escape. Just the harsh reality of the life he had stolen from Darionne and her unborn children. The day of reckoning had arrived. After months of investigations, lies, and desperate attempts to evade the truth, Maurice Smith was finally facing justice. In the courtroom, the truth would be laid bare for all to see, and a jury would decide his fate. Prosecutors presented their case with unwavering confidence. The evidence was undeniable. Smith's blood-stained clothes, the stolen car, the murder weapon, and most chilling of all, the innocent lives he had taken. Darionne's family, devastated by her death, sat quietly, waiting for justice to be served. Darionne's mother, father, and siblings sat in the gallery, haunted by the loss of a beloved daughter and sister. Their hearts ached not only for Darionne, but for the twin boys she would never meet. They knew that no verdict would bring her back, but they needed something, anything, that could give them closure. Maurice sat in the defendant's chair, emotionless, as the testimony painted a portrait of the man he had become. He had been the one who killed the woman he once claimed to love, the one who had stolen not just her life, but the future she had dreamed of. And now, there was no way out. As the trial progressed, the weight of the evidence became inescapable. The jury deliberated, knowing the decision they made would shape the lives of everyone involved. Would Maurice Smith be held accountable for the senseless loss of life, or would his twisted actions go unpunished? When the jury returned with their decision, the courtroom fell silent. Guilty of capital murder, they declared. The room, once filled with hope, was now filled with a different kind of emotion, relief mixed with sorrow. Justice had been served, but for Darionne's family, there was no victory. There were no winners in this case, just the harsh reality of a life stolen too soon, and the wreckage left behind. As Maurice was escorted from the courtroom, his fate sealed, Darionne's family could finally breathe. The man who had taken so much from them was going to prison for the rest of his life. And though it wouldn't bring Darionne back, it was a small step toward the justice she deserved. Darionne Burley's story is one of heartbreak, loss, and shattered dreams. A young woman, full of hope and love for her family, had her life, and the lives of her twin boys, ripped away in an instant. Her family, left to pick up the pieces, would never be the same. Though justice had been served, the pain was everlasting. No amount of time would ever fill the void left by her absence. Her family's hearts were broken, but they would not let her memory fade into the shadows. Darionne had so many dreams, so many moments left to experience. She dreamed of watching her twin boys grow, of sharing their milestones, and of raising a family filled with love. But that future was stolen, and with it, the light that she brought to those around her. Her family vowed to remember her, to carry her legacy forward. They will not let the world forget the woman she was, a mother, a daughter, a sister. Darionne's life was cut short, but the love she gave will never be erased. Though the man who took her life is behind bars, the pain of losing her will live on forever. But in this family's heartache, there's a resolve, a promise that Darionne and her twin boys will never be forgotten. Darion's story serves as a painful reminder of how quickly life can change and the devastating consequences of unchecked anger. Her family's lives may never be the same, but they will continue to honor her memory and the precious lives she carried within her. If you were moved by Darion's story and want to hear more stories that reveal the untold truths behind silent crimes, make sure to hit that subscribe button now. Justice may be served, but these stories are far from over. Don't let the memory of Darion's life fade away. Subscribe to Silent Crimes HQ to stay connected, because the truth is waiting to be uncovered. Click the bell to stay notified. You don't want to miss what's coming next. Subscribe now and be part of the journey into the stories that deserve to be told.